are now in the presence of political greatness. Paris Schutz.
I'm not running for anything.
Best political reporter in the city of Chicago, joining us here on Chicago Now with kind of an update on what is happening in the world of politics. I understand that our very own J.B. Pritzker is once again headed to Washington.
Yeah, he's going to go testify before the House Oversight Committee. They're going to do a hearing on sanctuary states this time.
Yeah.
If it feels like a rerun, it's because they did sanctuary cities, so it's going to be a lot of the same. It was like 8 hours when Brandon Johnson was there, and all of these representatives just got up and pontificated. And the Republicans would interrogate the mayors, and the Democrats would defend them, and then they would make little social media videos, post them on Twitter, and then raise money off of them, and nothing was accomplished at the end of the day. Okay. So we get to do it again.
We get to do it again, but for someone like J.B. Pritzker, is he licking his chops too?
Probably.
I mean, is it an opportunity for him too, just as much as it is for these pontificating committee members?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think he wants to run for president. I think we've established that, and he's going to use this as a platform to defend his policies, to sort of establish his bona fides with the liberal base of the Democratic Party. But, you know, because he's been so on the attack against Trump and because he is probably running for president, I think that Republicans are really going to go to town.
Yeah.
You know, and I think there will be a lot of fireworks.
Okay, fireworks there. Now, there were fireworks here in Illinois as well. We had a little visitor, okay? Homeland Security Secretary ChicagoNOW came to the state. What happened?
ChicagoNOW came to the state to do some press conferences to highlight sanctuary state policies, just like we were talking about. And she was supposed to give a press conference outside the governor's mansion in Springfield. Mm-hmm. Governor Pritzker kind of got wind of it, so he and Democrats kind of set up a little sign there that said, protect due process or something like, basically trolling her.
Yeah.
The night before, he also said, I would urge all you folks in the Springfield region to hide your dogs and cats. I mean, that's a pretty good burn right there. Yeah. Referencing her shooting her
memoir.
Her memoir, shooting her dog. So she gave a press conference. She had some Illinois Republicans there. She had some. She wanted to talk about victims of crime perpetrated by undocumented immigrants, and she claims that the sanctuary laws here in Illinois will protect undocumented immigrants that commit crime. Now, that's not necessarily true, because someone commits a crime, the cops can go arrest them, and also, I mean, ICE has always had the ability to come in and deport someone that's accused of a violent crime. None of that is new or anything like that. So what the sanctuary laws really do is just prevent the police, the local police, from sharing immigration status with ICE agents, and then
But it doesn't prevent them from making an arrest if there is a crime.
Or it doesn't, and it also doesn't prevent ICE agents from coming in, and if they've got an order from a judge, a warrant or something to deport someone, they can go do that. No one's stopping them. The thing is, the local police aren't going to help them with that, nor do they have to by law. So that's kind of what sanctuary states do, and that's where the dispute is.
J.B. Pritzker called her appearance a publicity stunt. How do you react to that characterization?
Well, I think everything in politics at some level today, Anthony, has a level of publicity. I don't want to call it a publicity stunt. I don't want to be that cynical. So let's say a publicity component to it, where they're trying to raise their profile and make a point. And of course, that it's a big part of what she's doing, but you can say that with a lot of actions that politicians on both sides of the aisle are taking.
And you're right that a lot of these publicity components, as you phrased it, get chopped up into very short TikTok clips, and you can see things that are completely out of context. And you really do have to. It's a tough world to navigate as a consumer of this news.
That's why we're here.
Right, that's why we're here.
That's why we're here. We give you context.
All right, we don't have very much time left with Paris, so I want to switch gears and talk about this funeral happening today, too. This is our former governor, George Ryan, for you younger set. I remember I was an intern under Mike Flannery, your predecessor.
The Flan Man.
The Flan Man, Flannery.
Flannery.
When I was a college student. And I believe George Ryan, do you remember offhand what year he had to go to prison?
It was 2007, I believe, was this conviction.
So he was in office when I was an intern there, but by the time I was a reporter, this is at one of our competing stations, but in an earlier iteration of life, I remember I showed up to Terre Haute Prison the day he had to report.
Oh, really?
But for folks who are unfamiliar with George, he's got kind of a complex legacy.
It's a fascinating legacy. Your dad interviewed him a bunch. I interviewed him when he wrote his memoir about putting the moratorium on the death penalty, which is a big part of his legacy. So the part of the legacy is the conviction, and he's always been sort of tied to the death of the Willis family, the Willis children. That for those that don't remember the story, they're driving in a van on the highway. A trucker loses a part of the truck. It hits their van, the van blows up, and the 6 kids die. Now, that trucker was found to have gotten their trucking license via a bribe from the Secretary of State's office. George Ryan convicted for running this license for bribe.
If you've ever heard the phrase the licenses for bribe scandal, this is George Ryan. This is the big thing.
So, he said he doesn't bear responsibility for that. He doesn't believe, he's maintained his innocence all the way to the day he died. So that was part of it. The other part of it, he was remembered as being sort of a bipartisan deal maker kind of governor, big on infrastructure. I think the Hinsdale Strangler, if you guys know the Eisenhower out there, no, Hillside Strangler.
Not an actual murderer. This is a nickname for a stretch of highway. Yeah.
Hillside Strangler. Yeah. He was instrumental in getting the money to sort of widen that. Although it's still strangled with traffic if you go out there. But yeah, I mean, and so he was a death penalty proponent when he was in the General Assembly. When he became governor, he said, look, I looked at these cases, I looked at these men, and I said, I can't be responsible for their death.
And he was nominated for a Nobel
nominated for the Nobel Prize.
Nobel Prize. Nobel Peace Prize nominee.
And so he put up a moratorium on the death penalty, and then Governor Quinn later on abolished it in Illinois.
Thank you so much for the history lesson. Paris Schutz, thank you for visiting us here on Chicago Now. We really appreciate it.